Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Welcome to Homeland Heroes Salute Podcast.
Welcome everybody. Welcome to another episode of Homeland Heroes Salute Podcast. I'm your host, Doug, and Ginger Munson and David Tilley and Jim Roberg are actually taking it off this episode. And so I just want to go ahead and introduce that we have a special guest here with us today, who is Yvette, and I'm going to let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, good afternoon. I am Yvette Benavidez Garcia, and I am one of three children of Master Sergeant Roy P. Benavidez, who is a Medal of Honor recipient from the Vietnam War.
Oh man, that is absolutely amazing, and you must be very proud of him of being, honored as a Medal of Honor recipient for, being, for his services and everything.
Absolutely. Super proud, I feel very blessed to be one of his children. I miss him dearly. He passed away over 20 years ago in 1998, November 29th, 1998. Miss him dearly, but my siblings and I, we are desperately trying to keep his legacy relevant and alive by posting on all of our social media sites that we have in his honor. So thank you for having me and for allowing me to share his legacy.
Oh, no, thank you. And thank you for his sacrifice that, he has given for this country. And definitely it's an absolutely honor to have you on to speak about his legacy and all that. With everything with Homeland Heroes, I know you were on before with us. It was probably, I want to say, just a little over a year ago, maybe,
Yes.
or so. Can you give us some more background regarding, his legacy, as well as what you do as a military, what they call military brats, military, the kids and stuff like that. What do you guys still do to really to keep his honor going and stuff like that?
Well, we try to update his. I'm an administrator for his YouTube channel and for his Facebook. I also have an Instagram account in his name, and I have a TikTok, but I only post under my name stories about my dad. But I try to keep him relevant. And years ago, when right after he passed away, I didn't want, I guess, his legacy to be forgotten. As so many of our men and women who fought previously, I think their stories get lost or forgotten. And so I definitely didn't want my dad's to be one of those. So I got on, I think the first social media site that I got on was Facebook, and it's called Roy Benavidez, Tango Mike Mike. And I just started, sharing videos and or pictures of dad. And I try to keep it updated as often as I can. But I get a lot of comments from people who thank me for doing that. And so, 20 something years later, he's still relevant, and it's almost as if he's not gone. People are still talking about him. People are still remembering. People are still buying one of his several books that are out there. And the fact that we still have people who are interested in his story and who are still inspired and influenced by him just means the world to us, because then it means that we are doing something right with helping to keep his legacy going. His YouTube channel, we have a couple of videos, personal videos, and I'm still trying to learn the ropes on how to edit this, that, and the other. So I haven't posted some things that I would like to. I'm kind of waiting. But yeah, so I try to post as, when I can on YouTube. I'm more up to date and more active on Facebook than anything else. I do have a Twitter account, X account on him as well. But I'm trying to be relevant to all of the social media sites. And we do have a book that's coming out that was written by William Sturkey, and I just posted that actually yesterday. It's a pre-order right now, and I'll share the link with you. It's going to be available on all the it's going to be on all the sites, but this is another way that we've helped to keep his legacy and his story alive. William Sturkey, like I said, is the author, and he's a historian. And he literally took about 7 years out of his life, took a sabbatical from his teaching. He's a professor and of history, and he took a sabbatical for about 7 years and devoted his life to researching my dad and where he came from, and dug deep into his roots and traveled here to Texas. He even went to Vietnam. And he just tried to, he wanted to write a book that's different than the other books that my dad has written about him. And he wanted to do a story that people could, I guess, really relate to, with his history, his background, and what truly made him the man that he ended up becoming, the man, the legend, the hero. And so this is going to be a book like probably no other. He did research, his mother and his father, his biological parents. He interviewed a lot of people before they sadly passed, but he did get some interviews in from people who knew my dad. And so I think a lot of people are going to be really interested to hear and to see and to read what made Roy Benavidez the man that he ultimately became, which is an American icon.
Now, I know you were just talking about the book and everything. Has that book name been released on what?
Yeah, it's called The Ballad of Roy Benavidez, The Life and Times of America's Most Famous Hispanic War Hero.
You said ballad?
The Ballad.
Oh, ballad.
The Ballad of Roy Benavidez.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, I'll share that link with y'all so that you click on this link and it'll take you directly on to the ordering page.
It sounds like you're from the South when you say y'all.
Yes. Well, I was born in Kansas. And when my dad retired to San Antonio, he moved the family there and retired in San Antonio. My brother was born there, and then he moved the family to El Campo. So yes.
So back, all right. So you are from you have like this Southern accent, which you were born in Kansas. What part of Kansas were you born in?
Fort Riley.
Fort Riley. I was stationed there.
Oh,
the Big Red One.
yes.
I was also there with the National Guard unit out of Kansas City, Kansas.
Okay.
Which was 778 transportation. I lived in Bonner Springs, Kansas,
Okay.
at
Well,
that time. So,
I'm always a Kansas girl, and ironically, my husband's family is from Kansas, so
oh,
I
nice.
still get to go back as often as, I'd like to, but yeah.
You go to the casinos out there, out in Kansas City?
I have, but not recently. It's been years.
Yeah, I haven't been there for years either. It was the Maristar. It's where I
Yeah.
used to go, or Island. What the heck was it? Island something? Or and then Harris.
Yeah.
Yeah, good casinos. I loved there was a place that had a good cheesecake. At the I think it was at the Maristar that was on like a little train. But going back, so he's writing, so that guy's writing you said his last name was Stokey or
Sturkey.
Sturkey. That's what it was.
Sturkey.
I
William
wrote
Sturkey.
William Sturkey.
Yes.
So he's writing the book. He took a sabbatical that, lasted like 7 years or so, just so he can do the research and all that,
Yes.
regarding your father.
Yes. It is set to be released on June the 11th, 2024.
June 11th, 2024. Okay.
Yes.
So we'll definitely put that down. I'm writing it down as I speak.
Yeah,
'cause
it's
I
the pre-order is right now, and then it's set to be released June 11th.
That's awesome. I've got to look that one up.
Yes, and then my dad's the very, very first book that he co-authored with Oscar Griffin. We are we as in my brother and sister, we are re-releasing it, republishing it, and so it has been out of publication for years. And if you're lucky enough to find one at a bookstore and or eBay, consider yourself lucky, but we are republishing that. And so that is probably going to that'll definitely be republished in the new year. And I'll let y'all know when with a link for that as well. So that is the very,
Perfect.
very first book. It's called The Three Wars of Roy Benavidez.
Wow, three wars. So that means that would be what, Vietnam?
The Vietnam, and then his life living in poverty and and just racism.
Yeah. And that was big, years and years ago, and I know it's still a hot topic today, which it's sad. That stuff should not be happening. Again, my background,
Mhm.
my background is, I'm Portuguese. So, I was really, I've been brought up, and my heritage is Portuguese. Um, and I have never had, knock on it, I have never had that to deal with any of that, really before. I know I dealt with it when I did disclose that I was Hispanic once, and someone they kind of threw it at me a little bit, but it wasn't anything nearly as bad as a lot of other people have gone through.
Yeah.
Of which it's so sad, having an ethnic background. It doesn't mean that you're any different than others.
You're definitely not immune to it. And I always say, when you level up, the devil ups. And my dad definitely, it's really sad. I mean, sometimes the town that we live in, there are people who can be so hateful here. And I say here because this is where we live, obviously, and we hear it the most. And we don't really see or hear or get commented a lot. Even thankfully on social media, there's not I don't think I've ever come across hate other than people from our own area, our own county and or hometown. And it's just, it's sad because, my dad lived through it after he came home, after he received the medal, and his life changed after he received the medal. I mean, did a complete 180. And at that point, that's when the hate started, and really obviously has slowed down tremendously. But the most recent, every time there's some kind of news about my dad, we'll hear the negative comments. My dad has an armory named in his honor right outside the city limits of the town that we live in. It's not actually in the town; it's right outside the city limits. And there was a movement to have one of our elementary schools named after him. And you would have thought that was just like crazy, like unheard of, the amount of hate that our family received. And it was almost to the point where we didn't even want to pursue it because people were writing letters to the editor of our local news, and people were posting comments on social media that, doesn't he have enough things named after him? Things like that. Yeah. And it's like, or he wasn't the only one who fought in the war. Why do we want to single him out? And it was just nonsense. But, being the daughter of this military epic war hero, it's just really disheartening to hear comments like that, because if it were anybody else's parent or father or, military war veteran, I feel like, would these comments still be made? Like, really? Like, I just can't believe how these people just blatantly make the comments that they do. But, we're kind of, I don't want to say we're used to it, but we're kind of used to it,
Yeah, and
it comes with, sadly it comes with the territory, but we don't let it bother us. But I do talk about it because I do want people to know that there are people out there who can be really rude as adults, rude and disrespectful and hurtful.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's a sad situation that, we still live in that, unfortunately live in that time that people still have that ignorance. And it's very sad. And, that's something that if those individuals get out of that ignorance and move on from that, this world would, be better.
Yes.
And with stuff like that happening, it doesn't matter how many things you get named after an individual. These people that send stuff like that, it's the ignorance to them. They have nothing else probably better to do but to say this. And it's like, you really, if you send a letter back to them saying, hey, what if we named it after you, why would we want to name it after you? Tell us, a good reason why.
Well, yeah, exactly. We were like, because some of these people were saying, why don't we call it this, this, and this? And we were like, well, then why don't you? Why haven't you started a movement, a petition for that? If it was so important to you, why weren't you the one who came up with 3,000 signatures in favor of it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I applaud that you and the family, didn't, you know, um, really try to, I wouldn't say keep going with it, but, because I really wish you guys would have, because that,
Well,
again,
no, we
would
did. We helped the person in charge as much as we could, and we had, it had to go before the board, the school
yeah,
board, and it got shot down like 3-2 or something, 4-2. It was, and we were all there, but a group of veterans, I say a group, maybe 3 veterans who were very vocal, showed up with their entourage, and they just were like, we're going to make a presence. And they were against the renaming of it, sadly. And so, I think, so in the end, it got, shot down, and we were like, it's okay. It is what it is. My dad has 2 schools named after him, one in Houston, one in San Antonio. So his legacy lives on with school children, maybe not the ones in the hometown that he ended up raising his family in. But once again, there's nothing in our hometown named after him, if that says anything, which again is sad. But we don't need anything named after him. My dad's legacy speaks for its own and on its own, and we're continuing to make his presence, even after his passing, known. And so we're just going to keep doing what we're doing, and keep getting the word out and making him relevant to everybody we meet. So that's what's more important.
And that's amazing. And you can always, you and your family can always, and everybody who knows who he is and who read the books and know who he is, you guys have that good part of the life of him in your heart.
Oh
And
yeah,
you can always remember that and continue remembering that and passing that down, through generations, because again, that's something that you guys have. And just
definitely.
keep remembering it, because again, it's by keep remembering it and passing it down, it will continue, keep going. And sure enough, hopefully one time, somewhere down the road, someone in the family would turn around and say, hey, can we get this square, like this little square right here in the town, named after him? Because your kids and kids, may raise, their kids there, and they may want to turn around and try to see if they can get it. You never
Yeah.
know. And for those, those three veteran bikers, or whoever they were, shame on them. I know a lot of bikers myself. I know a lot of veteran bikers, and
Well, I don't know if they were bikers. They were
oh,
just
three veterans, but still
yeah.
three veterans is that's still, you should be honoring that man, and they
But
should.
I get, in a way, part of me is like, I get where they're coming from. They too were a part of that war and probably
Yeah,
didn't get the recognition that they deserved. And so I 100% get that. And
yeah,
for us, it was never about just honoring my dad, because I think when you honor my dad in such a way, you are honoring everybody.
yeah,
Because they were, in our opinion, and I know my father's opinion, they were all brothers in arms.
ab-
My dad never wanted to take the credit for anything anyway. He never wanted to be singled out. He never wanted the notoriety or the recognition. So, I don't, in one aspect, I don't, I guess, blame them or fault them for having the mentality that they did to be against it, because
yeah,
they were probably just doing that in honor of their fallen brothers who had gone, or for themselves, but
oh, absolutely. That, I
but
mean, because
the family, we take it differently when it's I guess targeted towards us, and the hard work that people do to get him, I guess, known, or to
yeah,
get him, I don't know what the word would be, to recognize him, I guess. We know the sacrifice and the hard work and the determination and all the hours that it took this one person to get over 3,500 signatures, and then for it to just be,
fall to
like,
the
shot down. Yeah, it's, and not even spoke about, or not even like given a reason. I think that was hurtful as well. So
and once that book gets released in June, June 11th of 24, I'm gonna be on the look for it, because I'm gonna is it pre-orderable by Amazon?
yes.
Perfect. I'm gonna get it pre-ordered, and because again, I have, a buddy who has written now 2 books, which is called The Rifle. Andy Bigelow, big supporter of military. He's a Iraq Afghanistan war vet. He served in the Marine Corps. Once a Marine, always a Marine. I served 9 years, 11 months, 28 days, but nobody's counting.
Thank
In the
you
United
for
States
your
Army.
service.
You're very welcome. Um, my I would say it's my uncle, because my grandmother's brother, he served 23, 24 years in both the United States Navy and Army. Split times. He got out and then was like, I don't like being a civilian, so he got back in. He flew Hueys during the Vietnam War the whole time.
Wow.
And
You come
he
from a very, very long line of dedicated men and women.
I have in a lot of my families, even my nephew who just turned 18 like a year ago, he just enlisted into the United States Navy. I've got a cousin Robbie who was United States Army. He was a sniper scout, done multiple tours into Iraq and Afghanistan. I've got other cousins that have been in it. My grandfather Doug as well. He was in during the Korean War. My wife, her father, which is my father-in-law, he was in the United States Army as well. He was in during the Korean War. And it goes back farther, and it's like it's
Oh,
absolutely
yeah.
amazing. And I'm proud to be able to say that I've followed into their footsteps and taken that leap into this brotherhood and sisterhood that we as brother and sisters in arms
Mm-hmm.
gave pretty much ourselves and said, here, we're going to sign that blank check. And this is like your father is thinking. His mentality is, we signed up for this. We signed on the dotted line to up and including our lives to give. We are not looking for anything. We're not looking for
Absolutely.
the NFL or NBA, contract where we're getting paid millions of dollars. We're doing it for like less than minimum wage. If you
Yeah.
really look at it and at the hours that we spend. And
And not only do you give that up, but you also give up your mental fortitude.
yes,
And because, when these men and women, when you come back from serving, the things that they've seen and that things that they've heard, I mean, that's just incredible, and it's paramount to them, obviously, and they give up so much. Um,
yes,
we can't even imagine what they have to go, the war that the mental war that they come home to, and have to live with the rest of their life. They give up so much, so much. And we can, a lot of people aren't even grateful for that, but I know we are. My family is, and we know every bit of sacrifice that is given up and endured for the love and the freedom of our country. We
yeah.
know.
Oh, absolutely. And I can't applaud you guys as being a military family that you know you've pretty much, your father has done his duty, his service for this country. And
Yeah.
he may not he again, like us veterans, we don't want the recognition. We're not looking for these awards. We're not looking for these medals to be given to us, because again, we go into these dangerous areas that you know our bodies may leave that area, but our mind and our spirit doesn't,
Right.
because you come back a whole different person.
Yeah. You
um
never forget. You never
you
forget.
you never forget, and you never forget the your brothers and sisters that gave their lives
Hmm.
during that time. Again, it's a situation that we live in, but you know
Yeah.
what, we signed up for it. We knew what we were doing. We are what they consider the 3%
Hmm.
of this country that actually go and enlist into the service. And
And my dad always said, we gave up our todays for your tomorrows, and
absolutely.
that's so true. So
uh,
true.
that really is. And that's amazing that you guys remember this stuff that your father talks about or talked about.
We have to. That's the least as his daughter I could do to keep his spirit and his memory alive. I mean,
uh,
that's the least I can do is continue to honor him every chance that I get, and to speak about him, and to speak his name,
yeah,
so that people don't forget. And it's really cool. Obviously there's certain age group that remembers him and knows about him, but what's really cool is to get the younger kids who were not alive when my dad was alive, and they know and learn about him, and they want to learn about him. So that's why we do what we do, is so that he is never forgotten, never.
Yeah, and that's absolutely amazing. And I applaud that to you guys and to him. And he sounds like a guy that I would have loved to meet and be able to pick his brain on a lot of stuff. And
Oh yeah, and he wasn't shy about talking, that's for sure. And he would talk to anybody who would listen. So he was very kind-hearted. A lot of people, they look at him in his militaristic view, and the way that he looked, very stoic and buff, and
yeah,
but he had the kindest heart and just a gentle soul. And for not having more than an 8th grade education, he was extremely smart and talented and well versed in so many areas of life. And he was a self-taught man who learned several languages. And it's hard enough to learn one, but he knew several. And so just a very, very smart all around man.
no, that is amazing. And again, you don't have to have a college degree to be smart. A lot of people
Absolutely not.
got to realize that. I mean, it's just your brain is going to function the way it's going to function. And if you put your mind to it, you're going to be able to be more successful and be able to educate yourself a whole lot better.
Because
Um,
everybody, there's so many talents out there, and you don't have to go to college in order to prove that. You don't have to have that education in that aspect. Of course, I'm not advocating that you don't go, but I'm just
yeah,
saying the school is not for everybody.
yes,
And I don't want people to beat themselves up over the fact that they may not be quote unquote smart enough to go to high school and or attend college. But there are ways around it, and there's ways that you can get your degree without having to go to a physical school. And there are just things that you can do to be successful. And we're not all made from the same cloth. So you got to
no.
do you and find you, and do what's best for you.
Oh, absolutely. And again, I wouldn't never tell anybody not to go to college. Again, you don't need a college degree to make, a lot of money. Again, I've got a college degree and I don't even use it. Um,
Yeah.
it's something that is definitely weird, but it sounds like, as my grandfather would say, he's a jack of all trades and a master of nothing. Oh no, was it? Yeah, jack of all trades and a master of nothing. I think that's what he would always say, because my grandfather would always say these things, and I'm like, oh, okay. I'm trying to get it, and then I realized, you know what? He doesn't need a plumber. My grandfather didn't need a plumber. My grandfather didn't need an electrician. He didn't need a roofer. He didn't need a contractor to build anything. He did it himself.
Yeah,
He taught
absolutely.
he taught himself.
Mhm.
Again, it goes down to, one, common sense, and two, just learning from everybody else. It's learning from, other things. And you don't need, again, you didn't need a college education to go and say, I know how to build this house. You may
Right.
need to get it for an engineering. But my grandfather he's just again, a jack of all trades. And that's what it sounds like your father was. And
Mhm.
smart, intelligent man. And again, I wish I could have met the guy. And um, it would have been I would have been very intrigued, and would have enjoyed the conversation with him.
Yes,
Um,
definitely.
but it's definitely an honor to have you on, and be able to have to speak about your father and be able to carry on his legacy with all this. And I applaud you for definitely you and your family to trying to get the school named, another school named after him. It's just sad that it didn't go through, but again, his spirit and everything else is living through you guys anyways. So by you talking about it, by you keep teaching your, your family about it and your kids, and then their kids are going to be teaching about it. It's all going to come down to it, and they're going to all remember it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And that's absolutely one of the best ways to keep carrying on that tradition and all that, So I know we've been on here for some time now. I definitely want to pick your brain some more with this.
Oh,
Maybe
definitely.
we may be able to get you back on again for a second episode with Yvette. I got it right this time.
Yes.
Yvette.
Yes.
Um,
Yvette.
I'm getting it. I know. I was like, but it definitely been a pleasure speaking with you. Hands down, I really appreciate you again coming on here with us here at Homeland Heroes Salute Podcast, and we look forward to definitely talking and speaking to you more on episode 2 on this.
Great. Thank you for having me anytime. And just thank you for all that y'all do for keeping not only my father's legacy alive, but all the others who have passed before him. Y'all are doing a great thing by keeping everybody so relevant with who they were, what their legacy was about. And thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. And I'm going to have our end of the thing go, and boom, done.
Thank you for supporting Homeland Heroes Salute Podcast. Please make sure to like and follow Homeland Heroes on all of your social media outlets. Homeland Heroes Salute Podcast is a Foo Bar Studios Sinister One co-production.